The architecture of omission. Most people look for the miracle of the Qur'an in the wrong place. They search for it in embryology, they search for it in iron, they search for it in astronomy, they search for it in prophecy and historical detail. But even if every one of those discussions disappeared tomorrow, the deeper miracle would remain untouched, because the miracle is not in any single verse. The miracle is the kind of text the Qur'an is. The Qur'an is written at the level of reality's enduring patterns rather than history's transient particulars. And this plasticity endures. Most books are written at the level of events. The Qur'an is written at the level of the forces beneath events. Most books tell you what happened. The Qur'an teaches you the pattern from which such things happen. This is why it repeatedly approaches the moment of historical specification and turns away. Noah's son drowns but remains unnamed. Pharaoh pursues Moses but remains unnamed. The prophet who appointed Talut remains unnamed. The Ruh is discussed, yet its full nature is withheld. Again and again, the text demonstrates something extraordinary. It knows exactly what it is refusing to say. These are not omissions. They are architecture. The unnamed son is no longer merely Noah's son. He becomes every son who rejects guidance. The unnamed Pharaoh is no longer merely an Egyptian ruler. He becomes every tyrant in every age. The unnamed prophet becomes every prophet entrusted with divine authority. Naming would have confined the lesson to history. Withholding releases it to humanity. Thus, we see the Qur'an operating simultaneously at multiple scales without changing language. A child hears Moses versus Pharaoh. An activist hears truth versus power. A ruler hears responsibility versus arrogance. A mystic hears the soul confronting its ego. A civilization hears the story of moral rise and moral collapse. The words remain unchanged. The scale changes. Most texts require reinterpretation to move between scales. The Qur'an moves between scales naturally. That is why it does not age. Documents age because their reference age. Patterns do not age because human nature does not age. Tyranny remains tyranny. Gratitude remains gratitude. Arrogance remains arrogance. Mercy remains mercy. Faith remains faith. The human condition changes its clothing, but not its essence. The Qur'an speaks to that essence. This is why it commits with precision exactly where guidance requires commitment. Belief, worship, justice, marriage, inheritance, accountability. And it withholds with discipline exactly where excessive specification would have transformed a guide into a document. The calibration is astonishing. Across law, across theology, across history, across ethics, across cosmology, across more than 6,000 verses revealed over 23 years under radically different circumstances. Yet the architecture remains consistent. A finite text generating seemingly unbounded application across centuries, civilizations, technologies, languages, and intellectual worlds. 77,000 words. From those words emerged law, theology, spirituality, philosophy, civilization, ethics, scholarship, and entire ways of understanding reality. And still, the source remains unexhausted. The Qur'an functions less like a book and more like a seed. A seed is small. The tree hidden within it is vast. The miracle is not the size of the seed. The miracle is the compression. The miracle is that a finite revelation can unfold into guidance for every age without losing its identity. This is why I believe the strongest evidence for the Qur'an is not found in any single verse. It is found by stepping back far enough to see the whole structure. The whole book is the sign. The whole book is the argument. The whole book is the miracle, not because it contains every fact, but because it contains the enduring patterns through which every fact finds meaning. Empires rise and fall, languages change, sciences advance, civilizations appear and disappear, yet the same words continue to illuminate the human condition. Why? Because the Qur'an was not written merely for one people, one century, or one civilization. It was written at the level on which all human beings live, and every generation that enters it discovers the same thing. It was already waiting for them.